Hi, everybody. I'm JD. I'm the Chief Learning Architect at a learning technology company outside of Toronto, Canada called Axonify. But I've spent my entire career focused on enabling the frontline workforce within a wide variety of different types of organizations, folks like Disney, AMC, Kaplan, and a variety of other types of businesses. And today, I work with Axonify to build technology that enables great frontline performance. I work here from my home in Orlando, Florida, where there may or may not be a tropical storm off the coast right now. But that's not going to get in our way, right? Because we're here to talk about eggs. Not just any eggs, gummy eggs. And the fact that you've probably heard that there's a bit of a shortage taking place in the UK right now for this particular snack. And there's a variety of different economic and social factors in play that have led to a lack of delivery drivers. But it's not just this particular organization or industry that's struggling to hire and retain frontline employees. Around the world, we see different challenges popping up. We see hospitality in the UK struggling. We see food service and retail in North America struggling to find and retain the right people. And it's really a demonstration of what can happen within an organization when there's a lack of skill or capacity on the front line. It can really challenge us to recover our businesses effectively or to transform or grow our businesses when the front line is not there to provide effective support. And it's likely that you all are in very different places when it comes to your own retail transformation, not just based on the disruption we've seen over the past year and a half, but based on all of the work that you've been doing for the past several years to find a way to differentiate yourselves in a crowded marketplace. So as a result of that, you may be considering a variety of different paths. You may be a little bit more like Kroger, the largest grocer here in North America, who's partnered with the UK technology company Ocado to build automated distribution centers, which is allowing me to order groceries from a company that doesn't have a store within 4 hours driving distance of my home. Or like MLL Group in Eastern Europe, you may be reimagining your convenience locations, which were originally your traditional gas station, but now offer more fresh coffee products and grocery products in order to differentiate and provide new services to customers. Or maybe you're more like Lego, who's completely transforming the retail experience to bring people back into their stores so they can really experience the brand, not just buy products. Every retailer is going to have to make a decision with regards to how they represent their brand and differentiate their offerings for customers. But regardless of the particular strategy that your organization chooses, it's going to have one thing in common with everyone else, and it's that people are going to drive that transformation. People are going to execute that experience with your customers. And there's one inherent struggle that every business faces, but it's especially critical in organizations that lean heavily on frontline workforces for execution. It's that an organization can only transform as fast as people can learn. If there's one thing you take from our conversation today, I hope it's this statement, this reality, and this really driver behind why we need to take a hard look at the human experience of digital retail transformation. So as you continue to innovate and transform the customer experience through the application of technologies like social media, augmented reality, e-commerce, the question becomes, have you made similar investments in the technology experience for your employees? So they're developing the right skills and using the right tools to be able to execute your next generation retail strategy. And when we look at the data from around the world, we see that there are considerable gaps in the technology experiences on the front line, that people simply don't have the tools they need to do their best possible work and drive your business change forward. And when we break down the data a little bit more, we see gaps in particular areas. We see that it's getting harder for people to get the next update, to get the timely communication, because frontline employees are hard to reach. They don't have email addresses. They don't have access to chat tools traditionally. A lot of people are relying on bulletin boards and huddle meetings to get the latest update. Similarly, people aren't getting training as their jobs are changing. So as you transform your retail business, people may be taking on new tasks or maybe shifting into entirely different roles. But the majority of people are not getting the training they need to be able to accept that change and do the best as they shift the way they do their jobs every day. And this is overall leading to a lack of confidence and a lack of feeling of preparedness in people's ability to do their best possible work in the current environment. Simply put, frontline retail associates, whether they're in a store, in a distribution center, while they're on the phone, in a contact center environment, they're hard to reach with traditional means. And this has created a considerable gap in the employee experience that leads to a lot of the frustration and negative results we see, whether it's maybe poor performance, it could be an inability to retain the right people, maybe low engagement scores, high turnover. All of these factors come into play, and a lot of it's derived from the fact that the employee experience has not evolved and transformed with the same pace as the customer experience that they're expected to execute. So when you make an investment in your frontline experience, and we have this conversation today, we are actually talking about enabling a great customer experience because it's the front line that ultimately owns the interaction with the customer, the interaction with your products. So we have to make sure that we're providing them the right experience so they can bring to life the experience that differentiates your business with your customers. So enabling the front line is just the right thing to do, right? Getting everyone the help they need, the support they need to do their best work is just a good idea. But there's also a clear-cut business case for making this type of an investment. And it starts with the ability to attract and retain the right people, right? People selecting into an opportunity with an employer that is going to give them the right support and give them opportunities to continue to grow their skills and potentially grow their career. But it goes beyond that to the ability to maximize productivity while limiting costs. So that with the talent that you have within your organization, you can do the best possible work and keep up with change without always having to go out and find new talent. You can build it internally and limit your associated costs. And then there's the ability to be agile and proactive and less reactive so that when the next change happens, you have an experience in place that can make sure that everyone within your organization, regardless of role, regardless of technology that they use, regardless of where they do their work, they're all moving in lockstep and in synchronicity so that you can make sure that you can drive the necessary changes throughout your organization. And that's what a great frontline experience can do. But the good news is, you may not have this experience in place for your frontline today, but you're probably applying a lot of the tactics we're talking about with your customers as you transform their experience. So what I'd like to do during our time today is explore some of those ideas that you're applying potentially with customers in retail today and apply them to the internal employee experience and see how you can transform it in order to transform your business. And then ultimately close the divide that exists between the customer experience and the experience of your employees every day. So let's take a look at 6 particular tactics that retailers are using around the world to create great frontline experiences. And we're going to begin with technology because we've seen how much technology has transformed the experience of being a consumer in retail. So let's begin the reimagination of the employee experience in the same place to make sure we're closing the gap so people can get access to the right tools, the right resources, so they can be successful every day in the next phase of your retail operation. The good and the bad news is that employees themselves have identified the gaps for us. So it's not always a matter of just giving people what they want per se, but if you look at the data and you look at the sentiment from frontline employees, we see that there's, first of all, from a cultural perspective, a growing disconnect where people who are in the retail stores every day maybe not feel like they're part of the same organization, the same culture as people who are working in a corporate environment. And now you introduce the idea of hybrid work, where some people are working from home while others have to clock in at the distribution center every day. There's a great potential for that cultural fragmentation to happen even more. And then you look at the availability of support, the availability of training. A large percentage of frontline employees only get the bare minimum. So as the organization changes around them, how can they keep pace if they're not receiving training as they take on new job skills, new roles, new responsibilities? And then there's the question of how often do you really fill out paper forms in your everyday life? How do the tools and experiences that you engage with every day at work compare to what you do at home? And frontline employees have noticed the disconnect. And there's often comments with regards to why isn't it like, or how come we're just not doing? And I know it's often not as simple as that when there are a lot of complicated processes involved, but have you reimagined or taken a hard look at the day-to-day reality of the frontline work experience to make sure you're maximizing what people have evolved into in terms of their digital habits? Right? We're used to engaging with information in a particular way as part of our everyday lives. Are you taking advantage of that at work? And when it comes back to that frontline sentiment, employees have distinctly said that they believe better technology is going to help them be more productive. It's going to help them do their best work. And it's not just that, it's also going to help them rebuild that connection with the organization. So they feel like they have a voice, that they're part of the larger picture and not just someone who's clocking in every day to do the heavy lifting. So to summarize this point overall, or this topic, I want to ask you a question. Could you do your best work every day if you had to rely on information from a posting board, or maybe getting the latest update from your manager at that daily shift huddle that you may not be scheduled for today? Could you do your best work? I know that I couldn't. And that's where reimagining the experience through technology can help close meaningful gaps. But it's not just about throwing technology at the problem. More technology does not equal a better experience. That's true on the customer side, where we have really focused on creating frictionless, seamless customer experiences, right? Making it as easy as possible for people to engage with our products and services. We can apply that same idea again to the frontline experience. But in this case, when we talk about frictionless and seamless, we talk about the idea of fitting the experience into the flow of work. Because frontline employees are operationally focused. They spend most of their time with your customers and your products. And we can't expect them to have to step away from their day-to-day work in order to get access to and experience the right types of support and training. We have to go to them and fit our experience into their day-to-day realities. And that's what it really means to simplify the digital experience for the employee. And a big part of this story is the idea of mobile. Now, when I say mobile, I don't mean a particular device. I don't mean a smartphone as the answer. Mobile really means that the employee experience needs to follow them as they move through their work. So wherever they do their job, we have to make sure we're crafting an experience around that reality, again, fitting into the flow of work. And that could mean, as an example, activating personal devices as part of a BYOD strategy, because we know that 94% of people around the world in advanced economies own a mobile device. 76% of those devices are smartphones. And the past year has shown us just how critical it can be during times of significant disruption and change to have a reliable connection point, the ability to reach out directly to employees and not have to worry about, did they come to work today to get the latest message? And with my team, we actually saw training around the world on the front line grow in terms of mobile access from 2019 in the low 50% to earlier this year, about 74% of frontline training being delivered via mobile devices. And we know anecdotally, a lot of that growth came from the growth in BYOD strategies around the world. And it's pretty obvious to say that when you increase access, when you make it easier for people to get to the resources they need, more people participate. But they don't just participate more often. They actually participate not just in greater numbers, they participate more frequently, is what I meant to say. So as you make it easier for people to get to the resources they need, more people engage. That requires less chasing of people, less trying to require training. People engage voluntarily when it's something easy to do and it adds value to their day-to-day experience. But remember, it's not just about, well, we're going to make everything accessible on someone's personal phone. That may be the strategy for you. But you do have to consider, well, what if they don't have a phone? What if you're not able to provide a mobile device? Really taking a hard look at your workflow and saying, where are the access points? Is it the point of sale system? Is it the handheld device that they're using in the distribution center? How can we leverage these available access points to make sure people are getting the right type of support and enablement experience via their existing workflow technologies? Now the question becomes, what can we do with this digital experience? When we have better access to our frontline teams, how can we leverage that in order to power their performance and drive our retail transformation? And we come back to the idea immediately of communication. Everything starts with awareness, just like it does for your customers, right? Your marketing team is consistently engaging customers, the latest update, the latest product, the latest service or special. The last year, we've again seen how challenging it is to consistently communicate to the front line and how much that can impact their overall sentiment, their feeling of connection with the culture. And right now, I'm in the middle of a research project with regards to the frontline employee experience and how well people have felt supported over the past year, so we can find out what can organizations do to take that experience to another level. And one thing consistently pops up when I look at the research around how people feel about the way they've been supported. And the comment often is, well, you didn't even talk to me. Right? I went on furlough, I went home, things changed, and I felt like I was disconnected because you just didn't talk to me. And it comes down to the fact that a lot of organizations didn't have a channel in place, didn't have a way to push that communication out to their frontline workforce as they would maybe with a corporate team who uses email or other types of productivity applications. And we have to learn from this experience and improve and transform digital communication on the front line so that everybody, regardless of role, can get access to that information and they don't feel like they're disconnected from the organization during a time of disruption. So frontline communication, it often breaks down in one of two ways. There's the employee on one side, and there's all of the stakeholders on the other side, right? Product team, executive team, management, compliance, safety, a whole bunch of people who all believe they have the most important information that that employee needs. So they're going to push that information in a variety of different ways to the employee, who then gets overwhelmed and is struggling with the idea that, well, if everything's important, nothing's important, right? So the information doesn't create the desired change. So in some cases, organizations have said, well, that's overwhelming. Let's streamline the experience, push all the information to the manager. Then the manager pushes the information to the employee, which again, sounds better. But in this case, you have the challenge of, well, are we now playing telephone? Is the manager reinterpreting the message potentially without knowing it? Or maybe are they prioritizing certain things over other things based on what they do or what they're held accountable to? So again, the employee may not be getting the timely, reliable information they need to be successful. So the idea here is that we need to install a buffer, a digital buffer between the senders and receivers of information, the same way we use technology in our everyday lives to sort through all of the noise, right? How do you know what to focus on in your everyday life when there's so much information out there? It's the same fundamental challenge, but it's actually a little bit easier because we're working within a set of guidelines within a particular organization. So the idea is that we can use this digital buffer so that people can maybe push information to specific channels or into specific communities. And then the employee can connect to the right channels and communities to make sure they're getting the information they need, but also transform communication on the front line into a two-way experience. So it's not just about information being pushed at me, it's about my ability as a frontline employee to engage, to share my insights, to show that I am part of the larger organizational conversation, not someone that is having work done to them, if that makes sense. So now let's go up another level. Let's talk about personalized experiences, which for customers are everywhere, right? Whether you're talking about Amazon, you're looking at Instagram, you just look at your inbox every day. Retailers are constantly looking for ways to figure out the customer so we can send the right message to change the behavior and trigger a buying behavior. And technology and data is enabling this type of interaction, this type of marketing today. We can apply, again, the same idea in the workforce, because even if they work in the same role, no two people are the same. They come from different backgrounds, they have different experiences, they learn at different rates. So rather than provide one size fits all experiences, which are actually one size fits none experiences, we can build experiences that personalize so the right support, the right experience gets to the right person at the right time. And just like with marketing, it all starts with looking at your data. In this case, your employee data, and asking the right questions. Things like, well, how are they engaging in the experience today, right? What are they consuming? What are they looking at? How are they using different tools? How is their knowledge changing over time? Do they have the right information so they can make informed decisions? What are they doing on the job, right? Are they demonstrating the right behaviors? Or are there gaps in their performance? What types of results are they seeing? Whether it be sales numbers, customer satisfaction scores, safety information, all of your business KPIs related to human performance. When we pull together that type of data profile for each individual employee, we can then look forward to say, well, are we going to hit the goal? How are these different factors influencing our ability to achieve the results we want to see? And then we can proactively adapt. We can identify where the gaps are, maybe where we need to focus our refresher training, or maybe where we can nudge a manager to have a coaching conversation on a particular topic that really makes a difference in our ability to drive sales results. So we can use data to inform a personalized experience so that we can meet everyone where they are where they might be with our organizations today or when they join the organization. And then we can drive people towards sustained capability at a pace that makes sense for them based on where they're particularly struggling or maybe where they have great strengths. So ultimately, we can help everyone master their role and do their best work by providing the right experience every time. Reinforcement is our next point, and it's a critical part of the personalized experience I just talked about. After all, your marketing team doesn't send one ad, right? They don't send one communication. They continuously nudge people in the direction of changing habits or considering a particular purchase decision. The same concept, once again, can apply within our workforce experience because people don't just change because you tell them to. You have to help people build new habits, relearn how to do their jobs so that it sustains the behavior in real life and people keep doing the things that'll make your organization successful. Because the reality is, as people, it takes time for us to change, but using the right tactics, the right reinforcement can accelerate that change while still taking the right pace for everybody. So the idea here is we talked about how hard it is to keep pace, how overwhelming things can be. There's a lot of information coming at the front line every day. And in the beginning, changes may be pretty well organized, easy to handle. But then there's a new product release and a regulation changed, and there's customer satisfaction scores are down. So now we really have to focus on our greetings every day. And the pile just keeps growing and growing. And eventually, you may not know where to focus, and that pile starts to teeter a little bit and things start to get lost. So instead of trying to make everything equally important, we can reinforce the right topics. So maybe you look at a particular retail team and you say, we're going to focus on a new product so they can overcome obstacles to selling this new product, maybe a particular customer satisfaction item and a particular safety topic that we're struggling with in the business right now. We're going to focus on those areas and reinforce those critical skills. So maybe every day there's a quick micro-learning burst where people, when they clock in the store, they experience just 2 to 3 minutes of training. Their managers reinforcing the idea through their coaching conversations so they can master that topic quickly and then move to the next topic. So now each individual, as they demonstrate their ability to master that subject, they move on while others still work their way through. And you continue to adapt the experience and reinforce the right things for each person along the way. Our last point comes back to the fact that you don't have the same customer experience every time, right? It's not always buying the same product, engaging in the same way. You want people to upgrade. You want them to join the loyalty program, the membership program, right? You want them to maybe graduate to the next tier of products and services. And our last idea applies equally again to the frontline experience. So we can help associates upgrade their knowledge and skill so they can advance into new roles and help us drive our business forward even further. And in this case, everything we've outlined today supports this idea of restoring balance to the frontline experience, because often people can get very disrupted by the day-to-day. You spend so much time putting out fires, they're not able to look forward into where your business is going and then how you need to prepare your people for that transformation. We become very reactive, and that's where skills gaps and talent gaps start to emerge. So by introducing this type of digitized, transformed employee experience, we can help restore that balance. So people can solve the problems of today and have the support they need to do their best every time they come to work, but at the same time be looking forward, be exploring new ideas, collaborating to develop new skills so that they can drive your business into the future and you don't have to lose pace because you don't have the skills you need in order to transform your business once again. So that's the idea of enabling people to upgrade through a balanced frontline employee experience. So those are the 6 tactics, the 6 ideas behind what truly creates great frontline experiences. And by installing these channels, you can make sure that your teams and your organization is ready for the next big change. Because like I said in the beginning, an organization can only transform as fast as its people can learn. And that's what the experience we've talked about today and the tactics we've explored can really help you enable within your organization. And the topic doesn't matter. The specific disruption, the new idea, the new product or service, it doesn't matter. It's what the experience can help you address whatever the next need may be. So I've applied these tactics around the world to deal with safety challenges, to work with compliance and regulatory requirements, to improve the onboarding experience, to limit turnover in retail environments. So it's not about the topic. It comes back to the experience that an employee, that a person has working within your organization and making sure they always have what they need to be successful. Because what it ultimately comes down to is work is a digital experience nowadays, but it ultimately is a human experience. And how you leverage technology, how you leverage data can actually help it become an even more human experience and enable my final point, which is helping us demonstrate our care for our teams, making sure we're protecting people from a physical safety perspective, that we have their emotional well-being in mind when we make decisions, and that people are financially stable so they can take care of themselves and take care of their families. This experience can enable you to provide better support across all of these spectrums to demonstrate how much you care for your people. And of course, this human experience will help make sure that we can improve our chances of getting access to the gummy bears that we all need and deserve right now. If you have any questions, want to ask, what if, how would I apply these ideas within my retail organization? Feel free to reach out, connect with me on LinkedIn or Twitter, or send me a direct email at jdillon@axonify.com, and I'm always happy to have a conversation.